Hello and welcome to this tutorial where we are going to start to look at editing the code of our macro. So this is what we've been waiting for. We looked at recording and adding buttons to trigger it, but now it's time to start delving into the VBA aspect. And to begin with, we're going to look at making a small addition to our existing macro to take it that step further. We've got this macro that protects the formulas of our sheet, and I have this toolbar button on my ribbon, this anchor, that will run that macro. Macro seems to work absolutely fine. The one thing that we haven't really catered for though in this macro is what to do if the sheet is already protected. So if I was to click the anchor at the moment, it would run the macro and protect the sheet, and our job is done. But what if somebody just came up and hit that button? This is what we get. We get this error, unable to set the locked property of range class. So it kind of falls apart and it can't perform its job. So I'm just going to click end on that and come back, and I'm going to unprotect the sheet myself. But what we're going to look at doing is adding some extra code there that will check if the sheet is already protected, and if it is, it's going to tell the user that and then come out of the macro. So what we've decided to do is not continue with protecting it. We're just going to kind of pull out of the macro and let the user know the issue. Now, if the user's able to, then great. If not, then maybe they weren't meant to anyway. Now, in reality, what you go with this, you may decide that unprotecting it is the right choice. This is just what we're going as a demonstration of what we could do in this macro. First thing we need to do is see our code. Now, to do this, I'm going to go to the View tab and the Macros button on the far right hand side. I'm going to go for the top half of that button to open up the Macros dialog box so that I can see our macro, our Protect Formulas macro. And I'm going to click Edit on the right hand side to look at making some changes to that macro. And this will show us that code in what's known as the Visual Basic Editor. This is where we're going to be spending all our time throughout this course, writing our own code, changing it, learning it, everything that we need to do. So we have a separate tutorial coming up soon that's going to explain some of the key areas of this window as we delve into the code inside a little bit more hardcore. For now, all I'm concentrating on is this area in the middle where I can see the code behind our macro. I have this Protect Formulas macro, and then we've got these lines that are actually performing the job. They're selecting all the cells, they're unlocking them and saying that formulas are not hidden, then selecting the cells that have the formulas, locking them and keeping formulas not hidden, selecting range A3 to deselect our selection, and then performing the protection. What I'm looking at doing is before any of that happens, so before cells.select, I want to add to this code to check if the sheet is already protected. If it is, then there's no need to do any of this stuff. So I'm just going to click to the left of that line and press enter or return a couple of times to find myself a little bit of space. And I'm going to write if active sheet dot protect contents equals true, then, and I'm going to tab in, I'm going to write MSG box space, put in some speech marks and write the worksheet is already protected, closing speech marks, new line, exit sub, and an end if. So what I've written there is 4 new lines. I'm going to perform a test to see if the worksheet is already protected. If it is, I'm going to display a message box to the user with this message, and then I'm going to exit the macro. I'm going to abort that macro. And that's just a closing statement to if. The same way that you'd write an if function and use an opening and closing bracket in Excel, think of that as a closing bracket for if. Has to be there. Otherwise, if that's not the case, it's just going to continue with our macro. So not much of an explanation there on what they do. This is just a real quick example as we build our way in. Try no nonsense, get in the content, get it in there. Want to look at adding to our macro and performing that little bit extra to kind of whet our appetite. What we are seeing though, especially 2 things here, an if then else statement and a message box function, an inbuilt VBA function. It is certainly not the last time we'll be seeing them in this course. They'll be coming back later with stronger explanations as to how to write them and why we use them, but they are 2 extremely common lines of code, and as I say, it's certainly not the last time we'll be seeing them throughout this course. For now, I'm going to click this X in the very top right hand corner, the very top X, to close down this window. What state I'm in at the moment, well actually it's not protected. Let's click the anchor, does the job. It's now protected. Let's press the anchor again and I get this message box telling me the worksheet is already protected. I click OK, no error this time. We've got our own customized message letting the user know what's going on. Try it again, it's still protected. I unprotect it and then try it, does the job. So we've added our extra lines of code which we have to do. You can't record yourself doing that. We needed VBA to put that decision making lines of code in there, to put in that message box so that we can kind of talk to the user. These are elements that you cannot record, and this is what this course is all about.